Hi, this is Phil Shapiro. As a maker, whenever I walk through the world, I'm always seeing possibilities and opportunities. And so I decided to set up a website called My Wildest Idea, where I share some of the things I think about as I'm walking through the world. And some of these are pretty unconventional and wild ideas, but they might be worth sharing even if they're not exactly practical. They might have some value for sparking conversations or sparking other people's ideas. So I was recently visiting the Arlington Libraries in Arlington, Virginia, and this wonderful library system, they have an underground garage at this building with 3 levels. And there's a lot of parking down there. They also have outdoor parking. But the underground parking, as I was walking through it, the idea occurred to me, this underground parking, it could serve as a very large auditorium. If you had folding chairs, you could put folding chairs in an underground garage, and even though it's not very scenic, it practically is a very interesting place for sharing ideas with a large number of people. So here we go. I set up this website called mywildideas.com. You might want to stop by there and visit. Now let's take a look at some video I shot in the garage. I was there on a Saturday afternoon, about 1 o'clock. And you might think that's the most busy time of the week, but when I got to the lowest level of the garage, there was almost no cars there. And I shot this video towards the end wall of the garage. And you can see there's 3 parking spaces there. There's 10 feet in between each parking space. So that's 30 feet across, if you can try and imagine. And then to the left of that green pillar, there's another 10 feet. And to the right of that green pillar, there's another 10 feet. So it's 50 feet wide, and then about 100 to 120 feet going back up the ramp. Right behind me, there's a ramp coming down to this end wall. So if we put folding chairs on this ramp, where there's currently no parked cars, this could be a really interesting venue for sharing ideas, kind of maybe like TED Talk ideas, or I like to call shared talks, Tux Talks. Tux is the mascot for Linux. I'm creating this screencast on my Linux laptop, and I have a 4K monitor, and I'm using free software called Simple Screen Recorder, and I use LibreOffice Impress. You just saw I was using LibreOffice Impress. That's free software. So let's take a look at some video here that I shot, just so you get a sense of how large this space is. And it's currently totally not used, even on the busiest time of the week. And the other spaces in the garage are also not used when the library is closed. So they might be the first and second level of the garage could potentially be like a second or third very large auditorium. When I say very large auditorium, I'm talking about being able to hold 500 or more potentially people in the audience. So let's take a look. Here's this video I shot. So this is the end, and I'm going to pan left and right. You'll get to see over here. Whoopsie. Yeah, I should be coming over here. So yeah, I'm scrolling over just to show you that they have some storage area here at the bottom. So these garages have quite a lot of storage area. So there's storage area potentially for folding chairs. And people could even bring their folding chairs. That would be very spontaneous. And then, so now I'm showing, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. Each one of the parking spaces is 10 feet, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 120. So this is the ramp that comes down to the end. So there's almost 100 to 120 feet going back up. And then I walk up here just so you get a sense of the size of this garage. So, you know, the function of a library is the sharing of ideas. And the more sharing of ideas we have, the more powerful the library is, and it could even potentially create, when you share ideas, it creates wealth. You can have, here, I'm showing you the size of this, and then over here I have a second little video. Let's take a quick peek. I'm using VLC, the media player from France. It's wonderful. I do a right mouse click here, and I say open it up with VLC. And so this is the view looking down. I wanted to walk down. And so you can see it's a rather gigantic space. And a garage is not typically used as an auditorium. In fact, these green pillars here, they're in the way. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no possibilities here for the use of this space as an auditorium. You could even have separate speakers, so that if somebody's giving a talk, you could have speakers, either Bluetooth speakers or other kind of speakers, so that people can hear them way back. And you might be able to do some work improving the sound so it doesn't sound like a garage. And I love the idea that this shared ideas space, this potential space, could also be used for sharing screencasts. So I'm making this screencast on my Linux laptop, but not everybody wants to stand up and give a talk like a TED Talk, but they might want to share their really interesting ideas. And if public libraries and schools and other civic institutions help people share their ideas in screencasts, then somebody who is more introverted can share their best ideas, which is what we want. The library needs to be a place where ideas are unleashed. So I wanted to share these ideas, even though it's a little unusual. And I don't work for the Arlington Library, so and I haven't asked them for permission to share the ideas. I don't ask anybody's permission to share my ideas, but I just wanted to bring it up as a possibility. There could be some really interesting things that happen, even teaching. I mean, you can have somebody could be teaching in that shared space, and we need to think outside of the box in every sense, meaning that traditionally, public libraries are always free. You go down to the library, there's something free. But how about this? Let's try and think outside the box. How about if they had some kind of event at the library in the garage? It's a shared event, and there was a voluntary admission of $1 or $2. Well, that could help pay for all sorts of kinds of things. It could pay for some of the equipment used for setting up this thing that I'm thinking of. Or it could even be used for this. Try and imagine this. There might be somebody unemployed or homeless who has some really interesting ideas. And if there's 500 people all chipping in $2 to show up, and it would be a voluntary thing. It's not like an admission ticket. It's you pay if you want to, and you don't pay if you don't want to. But that pool of money could go back to people sharing their ideas. So somebody who's unemployed, if they make a really interesting screencast, you go down to the library, have 500 people watch it, and walk away with $100. So that would be a really, really interesting way for a public library to bring dignity and the sharing of ideas from a section of the population that typically doesn't have their ideas heard, but their ideas are important because we need everybody's ideas. We need all hands on board. So this is Phil Shapiro. For those who might be curious, I'm using my ThinkPad Carbon laptop. It has 4K output, and I'm using Linux Mint 19. And you can see, if you look down at the very bottom of the screen, there's tiny, tiny little icons. And I'm using a webcam, a Logitech webcam, free software called GUVC View. And there's my Linux Mint logo. Isn't that so pretty? Thank you to all the people who make Linux Mint. And the size of my video is 320 by 240. So I intentionally made this small so that I could maximize the other windows on the screen. I previously have made some screencasts where I might be 640 by 480 in the talking head part, but you really don't need to see me that much. I'm not all that interesting. It's my voice that matters more than my facial expressions. So that's it. I'll see you next time.